Jenna Mayat, and I run the Business Resource Center here at Simsbury Public Library. I want to welcome you tonight to our presentation. As you may or may not know, we have monthly programs here at the library that are devoted to business, employment, career strategies, all kinds, anything related to business and the business environment here in Connecticut. We have programs at the library through our Business Resource Center. We have, if you have not been to programs before, I do have a schedule of programs for this month at the back of the room. Please feel free to take a handout or leave your business card and I can get you signed out to our newsletter, which sends out our monthly calendar of programs so you'll know everything that's coming out. Tonight we are really lucky to have Tammy Warner here from the Small Business Development Center. I always get all these acronyms confused, which is a part of the Small Business Administration. And I know from experience with people that I work with, we could not be happier with how many resources are available from the Small Business Administration, both through SBDC, and we also have some of our SCORE partners in the back of the room as well. We could not provide the services we provide here at the library without our partners at SBA. So we're very grateful to have everyone here tonight and have Tammy speaking. So since you are all here to see her and not me, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tammy. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Jenna. So my name is Tammy. I'm a Simsbury native. My claim to fame is that my dad is the starter at Simsbury Farms. So I heard you guys talking about golf. Do you know him? Yeah, that's my dad. I grew up here in town. I grew up in company housing, and I have wanted this job for 10 years. I had this job part-time as a mommy job when my kids were little, and I came moving back to Simsbury 10 or so years ago when my kids started school, and I walked into the library, and Jenna's predecessor, Jennifer, was here, and I said, I'm a business counselor. You know, how can I help the town of Simsbury? And there was never an opportunity to do that until just this past year, when the SBDC was reformulated at UConn, and I had the opportunity to start with them. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about what the SBDC is, and SCORE counselors? Is that right? Thanks. That'll be nice. We work with SCORE very closely. They're a sister organization. The SBA, the Small Business Administration, funds 3 entities with virtually identical missions. And so there's SCORE, the Service, well, that's actually SCORE Americans Counselors, right now? Is that what your acronym is? There's the SBDC, and there's also the Women's Business Development Center. And here in Connecticut, we have all 3 of those entities very active and very sort of non-overlapping, try not to duplicate what each other do. So SCORE has wonderful one-on-one counseling here at the library, set hours. They're here, they'll work with you on developing your business idea. The Women's Business Development Center, they are based out of the University of Hartford. They are more oriented, sort of in broad strokes, to classroom training and programmed courses about how to start up a particular kind of business. And then there's the SBDC, which I will describe in more detail later. So today what we're going to do is talk about what the SBDC is and what we do, and then how we use GrowthWheel as a tool to help our businesses who are trying to grow, trying to overcome their barriers to growth. And then, because I get tired of hearing myself talk after about a half an hour, we're going to do what you would do if you were working with me or with my colleagues. And then it's very, very important to get your feedback. When I was a kid, there was this bar well, when I was a young adult, there was this bar in New Haven where the Rolling Stones would occasionally come out and trot out their act as they were getting it ready. You guys are my Toad's Place, right? This is the debut of the SBDC's GrowthWheel workshop thing. So all feedback is welcome. And it's actually interesting because this GrowthWheel product in general is actually crowdsourced. This guy who developed it, he developed a GrowthWheel, the GrowthWheel, 1.0, and then every time he presents it to groups of business advisors, very actively solicits feedback, and it's constantly based on the feedback that we give him. So if you guys can help me create and improve this product, that would be fantastic. And so your feedback and your evaluation is really the most important aspect of this from my perspective. And I have to apologize about the slide animation. I didn't do that. My marketing department did this. So we are housed, the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center in Connecticut, is housed at the UConn School of Business. The SBDC program in general has been around for 35 years. Actually, Lowell Weicker, when he was in the Senate, was one of the important crafters of the legislation which created the SBDC. And at a state level, every state matches the SBA's dollars, the federal dollars, at least 50% with the State Economic Development Agency here in the state of Connecticut, it's the DECD. And then we also have sort of a unique local partnership model here where we work out in the field and out mostly in chambers of commerce. Our mission is to help businesses start, grow, and thrive by providing customized advising, education, and network resources to entrepreneurs and small businesses in Connecticut. What I'm finding as I've been at this job longer and longer is that the networking aspect of it becomes very important. So I'll know somebody in Torrington who has a skill that somebody, or an interest that is aligned with someone in Simsbury or someone in Bristol. And if it seems appropriate, I'll put people together to help them help each other to achieve their goals. It's a really, really cool thing, being the sort of spider in the middle of the web. We work with entrepreneurs, we work with startups, we work with existing businesses, high-tech firms, people that are trying to expand. We do have programs for youth entrepreneurs. One of our clients is a 12-year-old kid who developed a proprietary technology for making ice cream in the shape of an egg. And we hooked her up with the UConn School of Engineering. She won all sorts of awards for this, and she's bringing it to market. Quit, yeah. And then because of the SBA's focus, we of course have many programs, many sort of emphasis for veterans, women and minority entrepreneurs. We also do have a couple of counselors in the state of Connecticut that are bilingual. I would not be one of them. I speak finance. That's a foreign language. So we have offices all over the state. This is me in the purple. So wherever someone is in Connecticut, there's somebody within a half an hour. Well, unless they're in Salisbury, then it takes them a while to get to me. Yeah, so we're all over the place, and this is kind of new. Previously, the SBDC in Connecticut did not have this large and expansive of a presence in the state. Our new leader she's all about visibility. It's pretty cool. The things we do, we work with people on their business plans. We don't write them for them because that wouldn't be their business plan then, which is of course similar to what SCORE does. We help them with what they need to get started. We do a lot of financial analysis. That's my wheelhouse. Help them with market research with the help of our friends in the libraries. The Simsbury Library is my favorite place to go to get research because Jenna is an awesome resource. And we have someone who is an expert at exports located at the Department of Commerce down in Middletown, Connecticut. So if anybody has any interest in exporting their products, she can help facilitate that. The federal government has a stated goal to double exports in the next few years, and so we're part of trying to facilitate that. And I should say that in broad strokes, how I spend my time with clients, about half of the clients that I work with are trying to get money. They're ready to go to the bank. We're trying to get them ready to go to the bank. They've been sent to us by the banks. They've been sent to us by lawyers who want to send them to the banks. That's what we're really good at for about half of our clients. And the other half of our clients, we do basically general management consulting. And to do general management consulting, we have this really cool tool called GrowthWheel, which I love. And that's what the rest of this is going to be about. So, questions, comments, concerns so far? Anyone? Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's like a...
Yeah. Well, you were talking, everything that you offer everything that the small business development offers. Are these in courses, or do I just call and say, well, I need help with this?
You just call and say, well, I need help with this. It is one-on-one counseling.
It is.
We are going to be ramping up to do more sort of courses like this, but our wheelhouse, what we spend our time doing is sitting down with people, helping them do what they need to do with their
And we
business.
come out to stores?
No, but there are offices all over the state. I work, Jenna has kindly shared space in the library with me here, so if you make an appointment with me, I meet you in the office right next to hers. I have an office in Bristol as well, so this is me in Torrington.
Why is that one yellow or gold?
That's where our offices are. It's sort of like the spider in the web.
Okay.
So this is me. And I also have an office down here in Bristol. And I have access to office space in Simsbury. And then I work with people sort of where they are. Like I have a client right now out in South Windsor. I go to his place because he has, the way that actually I should back up, we are geographically bound, but we also have a variety of different strengths and weaknesses, all of us as counselors. My strength happens to be in number crunching. I have never met a problem that I couldn't put into a spreadsheet. Whether it's supposed to be there or not, that's why I like the growth wheel. But other people, like this guy out in stores, he's done a lot of work in real estate, and he also has a background in microfinance. The woman down here in Stamford, she's like one of those, hand-waving, bring the money, venture capital, deal maker kind of people. The guy in Waterford, in his former life, he was a nurse. He's knowledgeable in the healthcare field. He's also a musician. So we have a tremendous variety of strengths that we can bring to the table. So if what your problem is, I'm not the best person to help you with, we'll hook you up with the people on our team that are better suited for that. The guy in Danbury he is bilingual. He's Colombian, but he's also quite the expert on social media and marketing. So, yeah, like I said, I have never met a problem that I can't turn into a spreadsheet, which is not necessarily a good thing, right? Because we all have areas where we're more comfortable, areas where our tendency is to focus, and my wanting to make everything into a spreadsheet is not necessarily the best way to serve clients. What we have at our disposal to get past this is this really cool tool called GrowthWheel. And GrowthWheel was designed by this guy, Dave Madier from Denmark. He was an entrepreneur in the early internet age, and he was one of those .com millionaires, right? He got out, he sold it, he went to work doing this job because he loves working. And he was fascinated with the question of why do some companies grow and others don't? Well, the thing is that when you think about that question analytically, you find that lots of companies undergo the same challenges, the same journey, and if you think about it, there are patterns that can be that you can recognize. So this is like something out of a Business 101 class. I've taught students this growth curve, right? This is the typical company life cycle, right? You start out a little twinkle in somebody's eye. You undergo some sort of stagnant early days as you're trying to figure out what you're doing, and then if you're lucky, you grow a little bit, and then you really take off on a trajectory, and then you level out, and then some sort of disaster happens, and things, somebody dies maybe, or there's a major change in the marketplace, you go down, and if you're lucky, you come back up again, right? This is your typical company business life cycle. And so the question is, how do you get from one stage in the life cycle, I'm going to say lifestyle about 20 times before the night is over, I'm sorry about that. How do you get from one stage in the life cycle to the next? Well, how do you go from just thinking about it to actually getting to that point where you're ready to go for it? Well, the thing is that when you're just thinking about it, you can think for the rest of your life. Because there is so much that is not known. And if you are risk averse, as most people are, you know, this uncertainty kind of stops you from ever taking that leap. And so what can be done about that? Well, there is not one size fits all prescription for this, but if uncertainty is the problem, one of the answers to that is to meet the right person to help you. That could be somebody to bring in as a partner in your business who knows what they're doing. Maybe having that first customer who you say, okay, I guess I can do this, is a real customer. Now, maybe it's a real supplier who wants you to sell their stuff for them. Maybe it's an investor who's going to give you a little breathing room so that you can actually afford to do this. Maybe it's an advisor, somebody like me, who will make you do your own work. Either way, right, this question of, right, who do you know? How do you know them, right? That can become an action plan. It's not just some nebulous idea, right? You can take and look at your network of people and think about how you can turn all these people that you know and all the people that they know into that right person that you need to meet. So it becomes this actionable activity. If you decide that trying to network and meet the right person is what you need to do to get your company moving forward, this growth wheel has a little worksheet that you can use to map it all out, think about it, and then you write down a little list of things to do. And then I take a photograph of it, and you come back and tell me what you did in a month. Right? You can make your list right here, right? Here's your possibilities for networking. Is it relevant? Should you do something? Here's your column for picking what to do. Right? You just write it all down, put it on a to-do list.
Is this in the packet?
Things like this are in the packet.
Okay.
This is the example piece.
Okay.
That will do the packet piece.
Got it.
You can do lots of examples. All right. So then now you've taken a leap, right? Now you have taken a leap from pre-startup to startup. Now what? Right? Now you've got that customer, you've got that, you're in business. Now what do? You're barely making it. Maybe you're running a loss, right? Now what do? You're in that pre-growth stage, and I see this all the time. You're in that pre-growth stage and you're it, right? You are the only one who's doing it. How the heck are you going to grow your business when you're also trying to figure out how to do your own bookkeeping and do your own marketing and do your own, supplier relations and all that kind of stuff? You got too much to do and not enough resources to do it. This is ubiquitous. Well, one of the potential answers, and again, when I come to the answers to these dilemmas, this is not the only answer, right? But one of the potential answers to that problem is if you get one big customer, steady customer, loyal customer, if you decide that that is the path that you want to take to be able to allow your business to get to the next step, again, in the Growth Wheel framework, we have a way to go about doing that. You don't just wish on a star. Right? There are ways to get customers. It's about marketing and selling. So this would be one of the things that you can think about using to identify where your big, steady customer can come from. And you would work, and this doesn't look like much of anything. I'd work with you to figure out how to fill it in. But this basically talks about segmenting your customer base in a very analytical way. Who is that whale? How are you going to get to them? Are they in the business sector? Are they, a large-scale consumer? Whatever it is that you're selling. Another way that you can get customers is by having your elevator pitch in your back pocket. So an elevator pitch is, a 30 to 60 second blurb about what you do, and you just should be able to be prepared to say it to anybody, because you never know. You never know who that whale is. And we, again, have this little worksheet that'll help you do an elevator pitch. And I actually worked with this for myself, because I sometimes have a hard time describing what I do. And I wrote it, and then I never used it. But it's pretty useful. So you build it up here, and then you actually say it in one sentence down there. Questions, comments?
You say only one sentence?
No.
Oh, I thought you said to say it in one sentence.
I'm sorry, formulate it in a paragraph.
You scared me because I had a couple.
No. You say it in a way that becomes something that sounds like you when you're talking. So here you are, you're like ready to grow. Your business exists, you're in your pre-growth stage now. You know, if you really want to bump it up to the next level, right, from pre-growth into that high growth stage, now what? Well, it is also ubiquitous that when a company has grown to a certain level, you're successful, you're stable, you're sustainable, and there is some desire to grow it, the person who founded the company, the entrepreneur, becomes the problem. Because they built the company because they know how to do what they do. They don't know how to grow a company, they know how to do what they do. You know, when people go into business, they know how to make something or they know how to sell something, hopefully both, but they don't necessarily know how to grow a business big time. And they also don't necessarily know how to do the numbers, which means I'll never run out of work. So in that case, right, in that case where the entrepreneur has become the barrier to growth, what then can be one solution to that? Well, you need to go out and headhunt, literally, for a new head of the company. And the other thing that needs to happen is that the company has to cease being about that entrepreneur. And I saw that actually just over the past couple of weeks. It's really, it's, you know, when you have a family business, the father just keeled over dead one day. The employees and son are trying to run the business, but he was a micromanager. Everybody was ask Joe, ask Joe, ask Joe all the time. So they're trying to figure out how to run this business that they've been part of for 20 years and they've never had to run because the entrepreneur did never make any actual systems. The systems were all in his head. So that then becomes your dual challenge, trying to find the right people to lead the company. And again, this becomes our little worksheet of how to go about seeking a board if you want to become a corporation, if you were a sole proprietor or an LLC before. Or how to systematize your operations through software. Right? Again, it's just this really sort of hands-on, practical, this is not pie-in-the-sky ideas, this is taking an idea, turning it into something you're going to do next week or next month. Once you've gotten to that growth phase, right, you are moving towards the maturity phase of a company where you're basically big and stable, an Apple or Microsoft or something like that, which you always hope, right? That again puts pressure on the company. What you need then is you need to start really getting very clear about your leadership, not just the senior leadership, not just the CEO, but also management through the company. And again, GrowthWheel, and I don't think it's necessarily relevant for anybody in this room, but GrowthWheel has the capacity to work with, you know, established businesses to help them identify real strong management. Or actually any employee, building your organization is an important part of running a business. And then, you know, it's pretty inevitable that there's going to be some sort of a shakeup, a change that is going to cause a temporary decline in the fortunes of your company. As you are undergoing transition, you're back to the question of uncertainty. What does the future hold? The world is different now than it was before. Again, you are in uncertainty, but it's not just about, I'm uncertain whether I should start this business. It's, you know, systemic uncertainty. And what you need there is the ability to innovate, to adapt, and to find an innovator for your team. So that's sort of where GrowthWheel fits in all the stages of a company's life cycle. And like I started out, you know, it would be my tendency to put every single one of those problems into an Excel spreadsheet, and they're not all supposed to be in Excel spreadsheets. Now, it's a toolbox, right? It's a toolbox to get you to make a decision and to take action so that you can overcome the barriers to growing your business. All companies have to address challenges in 4 general areas. All industries, all sizes of companies, and at all life stages. From the one-woman shop to General Electric, they all have to deal with 4 general areas of their business. They have to have an attractive business concept. They have to have solid, lasting customer relations. They have to have a strong organization internally, and they have to be profitable. Their operations have to make sense. Every company has to address getting to these points where all those areas are attended to. And what the growth wheel does, this is a wheel, right? It's 360 degrees. It breaks each of those general focus, general sort of building blocks into 5 focus areas. And what I love about these focus areas is when you choose something to focus on, that means that you don't have to focus on the other stuff. So all those little thoughts that come into your mind about stuff, about issues that are peripheral to what you have identified as the main issue that you focus on this week can just go away, which is incredibly freeing. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I've always got 1,000 things going around in my mind, and without a clear system for prioritizing, you can just spin yourself up into craziness. And worse yet, focus on the wrong things. So within this then, within the business concept, we're going to take a closer look. Within the business concept segment of the growth wheel, I'm going to go out onto the internet and read. Okay. Within the business concept part of the growth wheel, right, there are 4 slices. One of them is the business idea, your product portfolio, revenue model, which is kind of a cool one. That's one I put in your packet. Your customer portfolio and your market position. And so this is an online tool that we use with our clients. And if you click on one of these, for instance, is that the revenue model? On the revenue model, it explains, first of all, what do we actually mean by the concept of a revenue model? Because this is a, vocabulary exercise as much as anything. A revenue model talks about all the different ways you can make money. If you are in, for instance, a service business, if you are a consultant or someone who provides services, you can either, right, there's a number of different ways that you can make money from selling services. And it's not just, I'm going to charge you $100 an hour for my expertise. You could sell hours. You could sell the service itself, right? So I'm $100 an hour, or I have a package that's $500 that gives you such and such. You could sell events. I have workshops. You could sell membership fees. Come be a part of my club, and you'll get a discounted rate on my hourly rate and access to all my wisdom. Right? So that is something that you can do as a consultant and think about in this revenue model worksheet, or this revenue model sort of concept. So to describe what the concept is, and then this is associated with, if you like thinking about this and you think this could have some juice for you, then you go up to these worksheets, right? So here's the revenue model mix worksheet. And this is a writable PDF where you can say, okay, here we are in the service model. Is the sale of hours relevant to me? Yeah. And then you write a note. How could it be useful to me? And then you give yourself a little to-do. Look into such and such. Or, call my competitors and find out what they're pricing for this. Whatever it is, whatever the to-do is that comes to you. And what I love about this is that I don't have to be the one to come up with the ideas. Because as much as I love telling people what to do, and having teenagers, believe me, I enjoy the telling people what to do aspect of this job, because it doesn't work at home. It really doesn't do you a lot of good to have me tell you what to do, because I don't know your business. I know business in general. But I've only had one experience thus far where I knew a thing about what my client was actually doing for a living. And that was kind of cool. It was at the ski shop. So anyways, this is how we do this on the revenue model. Now, where am I? Back to questions, comments, issues, concerns? No? We're just there, open-minded and listening. So the thing is that this enables you and kind of forces you to make decisions. What is it you're going to do? What needs to be decided? Even before you decide what to do, what do you need to decide about? Okay, over in the southwestern quadrant is where we think about the organization. You have to have a good team. The team does not necessarily have to be employees or strictly affiliated with your organization, but every business, you need to have someone who knows something about marketing. You need to have someone who knows something about accounting, preferably an accountant, or at least a bookkeeper. So you need partnerships, you need your legal issues attended to, and if we go out to the website, which one should I click on? Which one?
Go ahead.
What's that? Legal issues. It's down here. All right. So when we think about what we mean by legal issues, there are a lot. There are probably a lot more than most of us think of when we're first starting out. If you have a product that is proprietary to you that you're going to sell, you need to think about your liability issues and what kind of a disclaimer you had. I had a client who was a welder, and he had a safety product for welding, and he was quoted $10,000 in liability insurance just to get that product out of the box. So if you have any kind of product for which you're making any kind of a claim, you need to think through these issues. It won't be $10,000 probably. You need to think about whether you want to try to patent your product. If you are in business with anyone else, you need to have agreements, formal agreements with anybody else who's involved in your business. Even if it's just you, you need to make sure that all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed with your filings. If you are going to have employees, you got to make sure that you're doing that properly from a legal perspective as well as from a payroll perspective, etc. Right? So there are lots of legal issues to attend to. That gives you the framework of how to think about it. And then our worksheet is the next step to becoming a to-do list. Is this issue relevant to me? Is it a priority to me? Is it complete? Who needs it? What machinery do I need to feed? Is it clients? Is it the state? Is it the feds? And what you need to do. And again, this then becomes the mechanism through which you are making your to-do list. If you decide that your legal issues are something that you need to focus on right now, this thing is going to come into a to-do list, and you're going to write down what you're going to do, and I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'm going to ask you next time I see you whether you did. So the growth wheel concept helps you make decisions. It also helps you find your challenges and opportunities, which are a nice way of saying things that you're not so good at. What are your barriers? What is stopping you from growing, and what then should you be addressing, as something where you have an opportunity to learn and grow. Over in the green side, this is your customer relations side. Anybody have any preference as to which one we're going to click on?
Networking.
What's that?
Networking.
Networking. All right. Yeah, networking is a cool one. Because you can be so conscious about it. Yeah, most of us, we put up our little thing on LinkedIn, and kind of interesting, but you can really work that network, and it's amazing. So we looked at this framework a little bit, right? Here you are in the center of your universe. I just had to have a conversation with my 14-year-old explaining to her that she is the center of no one's universe but her own. Not even mine. But we are all the center of our own universe, and we have our own existing network. And then one level out, are the people who could help us, are the people who could become customers, who could become media access, like our Simsbury SCTV person can get us into the big leagues in terms of our media exposure. People could be future employees. People could be future suppliers, right? One level away from you is a universe of people, and all you have to do is just think about, you go on LinkedIn and see who your contacts know and ask for an introduction. And people are generally glad to do it. That's why they're on LinkedIn. Is everybody here on LinkedIn? Get on LinkedIn. Every business person needs to be on LinkedIn. See, I did tell some people what to do. And again, so that networking thing comes with a worksheet. Turns into a to-do list. You think about, you make a list, decide whether it's relevant, think about how much it's going to cost you, both in terms of dollars and cents and in terms of time, and then what your next step is. And you take that next step, bring it out into your to-do list. I take a picture, I bug you about it the next time I see you. So not only does this GrowthWheel process help you make decisions, it helps you identify your weakness or your opportunities, as we want to call them, but it also is very inspirational. I see people taking notes, and I'm hoping you're taking notes as ideas are coming to you. It's like, oh man, yeah, I should do this, I should do that. Right, so are there other ideas that you want to try out? The next segment, the last segment, is the nitty-gritty profitable operations piece of the GrowthWheel, and I'm going to resist the urge to guess which one the people are going to want to look at. But go ahead, which one? There's financials, funding, production, IT systems, and facilities. Financials? I thought it was going to be funding. Where's the money?
Funding, yes.
Yeah, because the thing is about the financial piece, that's a can of worms. That's a can of worms. If you need help with your financials, you can come and sign up for advising. I'll help you with it. Okay, funding. So funding can come from a lot of different sources. Financing options. Funding can come from a lot of different places. A lot of different places. Of course, the best place to get financing from is yourself, because we're all sitting on $1 million we can invest in our business, right? The one that everybody thinks of immediately is banks. And banks will fund a number of different types of loans, including working capital, which is just basically a credit card for your business, kind of. They will be more interested in funding hard assets that you're purchasing that they can take away if you don't pay. They will not be interested, however, if your credit isn't great, or if it doesn't look like you can repay the loan. And they have a very low risk tolerance, because the rates that banks charge nowadays are very low. They're not making a lot of profit on loans. At 5%, that's not a lot of money. And they're very risk averse, and they have to be. We need them to be, because the fact that banks weren't adequately risk averse is why, among one of the major reasons that the big last recession happened. Banks were taking irresponsible risks. So bank financing is often difficult for startups. Unless, well, actually not even unless. And if you have equity in a home, they will expect you to put that up. That's collateral. So if that's just the reality, which means that There are other kinds of financing out there, though. There are lots of other kinds of financing. Factoring is when essentially a factoring company finances your receivables. A mortgage, you can take a mortgage on your home to pay for the business. You can sometimes get your clients. If you have something that your clients really, really, really want, and you know how to make it and they don't, maybe they'll pay you to make it so that they can have it. Likewise with the suppliers. If you're really, really, really good at selling something that suppliers want you to sell, maybe they'll finance the start of your business so you can get going so that you can sell their stuff. You can go after outside investors. You will give up shares of your company. You will give up some degree of ownership, but you might be able to get an investor to come in. There is the whole crowdfunding thing, which is very much in flux. I don't even really know much of anything about it, except to say that it's out there and that it's not free, But it's in flux, and if anybody's interested in pursuing that, I would be interested in learning about it. And then leasing is another option for financing, where if you can't afford to buy an asset outright, there are many assets that are available to lease. So funding, it's one of the real sticking points for startups. There's no doubt about it. It's not cut and dry, bank or no bank. The question of grants comes up a lot in my world. There are grants available through the State Department of Economic and Community Development. They are the Small Business Express Program job incentive grants. And the way that program works in practicality is that they are grants. They are generally, they like to have them be associated with collateralizable assets, and they have to be explicitly tied to job growth. So let's say you're and you have to be an existing company. You have to have been in business for a year. So let's say you're a machine shop, you need new equipment, you're going to buy a piece of new equipment, and because you're buying that new equipment, you can throughput a lot more production and you can hire somebody. They'll probably help you out with that, particularly if it's manufacturing. But if you're a restaurant and you want to open a new branch and you want to hire a bunch of people, even though the program says that it's for job creation, it's a little tighter on it, and it's a little bit more difficult to actually obtain those grants. It doesn't hurt to try, and we can help you with filling out the applications. Other grants usually are, first of all, we don't really get involved in grant funding. Grants usually require it to be a nonprofit situation. So. All right. So again, I'm like a GrowthWheel nut. It helps us get the big picture, right? What does the big picture look like? We're back now to what's about to be the hands-on portion of tonight's entertainment. And it's funny, you could set a clock by people's attention and my energy, because 45 minutes has passed and I'm like falling asleep and you're all falling asleep, but we're in the home stretch. And I actually timed my presentation right, which is good. So what we're going to do, right, we are going to go through the process, as if you were coming to talk to me, of doing this GrowthWheel thing. You're going to work on it for your own businesses and your own little, ideas in the back of your head about a business you might want to start someday. We're going to go through the process, and you're going to see how it goes. So the first stage in the process is what we call the 360-degree screening tool that allows you to pick 3 or 4 areas that you want to focus on. And the best part about that is that means that there are 16 or 17 areas that you're not going to think about, which is a beautiful thing. You're going to use the worksheets. I gave one sample worksheet out of each, hoping that it would hit something that at least one out of those 4 would hit something that somebody chose independently. You're going to come up with your little to-do list, and you're going to put them on the 30, 60, 90-day planner, and then you're going to, well, actually, you don't have to do this, but if you were doing this process with me, you reconnect with the advisor at a later date to discuss progress, and then you do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again. We love long-term clients, so we can work with you on this ad infinitum, as long as you're making progress. It's a challenging thing to draw the line between like a monthly shrink appointment and, you know, business counseling. And we do like to see progress. And, yeah. Out of my world. All right. So in your worksheet, there is a 360-degree screen tool. And the way that you use that thing is however it makes sense for you. It's very flexible. You can use it in French if you'd like, but we'll try it in English. Man, for a library, slow internet. Okay, so what you can do is, the way that it comes most naturally to me is, I think you think about each of these areas and you would fill in the little quadrants how strong or weak you think you are, with 4 being the strongest and 1 being the weakest. That's how it makes most sense to me. It may not make the most sense to you to do that. And what I want to do is attempt to zip it for a while and let you guys actually, you know, contemplate your screening tool there. And as you have questions about what a segment means, ask me and I'll pull up the description of the segment on the screen there. So have at it, people. Water. Questions? Anyone? However makes sense for you. If 4 is like where you really need a lot of help, do it that way. That's fine.
So you don't have to pick one from each quadrant.
Nope, you pick whatever is most relevant to you and what you're going through in your business right now. This is supposed to be useful. And there's caffeine and sugar to help with the process. I find it always helpful.
Sorry, it's the caffeinated.
What's that?
It's the caffeine.
It's decaf. Okay, there's sugar. That'll get you a half hour. me to click on any of these to explain more specifically about what any particular areas are. For instance, branding. What is branding, besides what you do to a cow?
Same thing.
It is. Where it came from, of course. Everything you want somebody to think about when they think of your brand. Your visual identity, your tone of voice, what kind of values you hold. So like a really strong brand would be like a Ben & Jerry's, where they have a strong visual identity. They have this kind of goofy way of communicating with their people. They have those goofy names, and then they have a strong social mission. It all comes together in a very, very strong brand. Right. And when they advertise for help in the Vermont newspapers, free pint of ice cream every day. Okay.
What's the matter, Tammy?
What's that?
You look lost up there.
No, I'm not lost. I'm not lost. Just taking a moment. I'm trying to determine whether people are ready for me to go on, or whether they're ready to go on. Okay, so you in your packet have what I hoped would be a broadly relevant set of business frameworks. Although, actually, if any of you didn't get hit by the 4 that I included in there, I can email you the ones that you want. So does everybody have at least one that got hit in their 360 screening tool? I think I don't remember what I put in there.
Like the random one.
You like the branding one? So I gave the marketing plan, the funding one, the process documentation. Because there's nothing more fun in the world than process documentation.
Should we get online and see any of this?
You can through me, and I can get you access to it whenever you want, but I can't just give you full access to a proprietary product that my employer paid a lot of money for us to have access to.
Right.
So, and you know, it's just kind of like,
So ideally, we should all just like set up monthly appointments with you.
if you want, yeah, yeah. I mean, the more the merrier.
I have met with Tammy.
Yeah, and actually,
I've
you know, I'm
worked
not
with
here to
Tammy through this
solicit
program. It's
clients,
great.
but yeah, but I've worked with, and I expected more of them. There were several people that I emailed inviting personal invitations. Only Rose shut up. Yes.
How are the counselors compensated? I mean, what is the?
We are your tax dollars at work.
Really?
This is free.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, this is
Through
free.
the SBDC, which is the Small
Yeah.
Business Development
We are the
Center.
government. We're here to help. And actually, in a small miracle, we are a government agency that actually has accountability. Because we are, the only thing that we ask from you is if we help you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, you submit a form that verifies that we helped you. So there is accountability in that sense, and specifically, if you're looking for money and we help you find it, then that's what we're really judged on. We have goals for how much total volume of loans and grants and investment that we help facilitate, and we also have goals for how many long-term relationships we get into.
But Tammy and I have done one-on-ones for in the winter, and then with the storms, we just kept getting bumped and bumped and bumped.
Yeah,
And then I got pretty busy with work, so we decided we'd meet in July now.
yeah.
Is what we're talking about, because it'll be
Yeah.
slower for me. But Tammy and I, we've had some good brainstorming sessions.
Yeah, and now with this, it's a lot more sort of focused.
Right, this
you
will
know.
be more focused.
And it is a process that enables the time to pass between sessions, where, again, I keep saying, I take a picture of your to-do list, and you go off and implement it or don't, but that becomes the opening piece of our next meeting. So it keeps everything on track and focused, and this sort of helps you stay focused on what it was that you said that you wanted to do. And it makes it so that we have this sort of agreement between us that you're going to be moving forward, that it's not just a monthly shrink session. It is an action-oriented, we're not just going to make plans, we're going to do stuff. The stuff might be making a plan, but then at some point, somebody's going to have to implement something. Not me, because I don't implement things. I just talk.
Who is your employer then?
My employer, UConn writes my paychecks, but the SBA and the DECD pays my paychecks. Because it's a grant that comes down from this federal government. I just saw it because I'm an academic in my former life, and so I have access to all the grants databases. I just saw the grant come down for the SPDC program, many millions of dollars nationwide. It's just being re-upped now. Because it's a grant, it needs to be run through an organization that can manage it, and in Connecticut's case, that's state universities.
Were you at Central before?
No,
That other group?
that was another group. There were a couple of them who came over. But yeah, new, fresh start at UConn.
This might not be related, but recently legislation passed social enterprise.
Yeah.
Would that
Yeah,
be,
it's very
would that have more consideration for a grant being that they
Yep.
give back?
Yep. And I don't know many of the details. On my to-do list is I got to get with the guy at an organization in Hartford called Reset.
I was just there
RESET.
today. Yeah.
They were here today? Or
I
you were
was
there
there.
at
I went
Reset?
down there, but I don't think it's company.
Yeah.
They have some other group.
Yeah, so I need to learn more about that because I think it's really cool. I happen to work out in Western Connecticut a lot where there's a lot of food and agriculture oriented businesses and a lot of emphasis on sort of socially responsible business. So I'm looking forward
I
to.
was one of the, wanted to say the word supporter, but that was one of the,
Instigators.
no. I spoke at the hearing.
Oh yeah? All right. Cool, thank you. Public service. Okay. So everybody's got something relevant to work on in your worksheets. So now the next thing you want to do, right, as you're going through the worksheets, you're going to come up with a list. And on the back, I believe the second page of the screening tool is a like a general capture. Where is it? Yeah, so this is like a general purpose to-do list, and you just jot down all your things you think of as you're going through the screening, including, I need to pick up the laundry from the dry cleaners, if that comes to your mind, because you got to capture all your thoughts, put them down on paper so they're not cluttering up your brain. Once you've got these down, now did anybody write any of these down as you're going through? So go ahead and just think about your screening tool and give yourself some stuff to do. People, get busy. You guys are much more cooperative than my college students. I get to say that in front of an economics classroom and the students are all like... So this just sort of captures them all on this page. Actually, let me let you do that for a few minutes. Oh, and I have to say, to encourage everybody's ADD, so my dad is a starter at the golf course, and my mom made this quilt here.
I love these quotes.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of a golf course.
Yeah.
It did. And the one next to it reminds me of a city.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's meant to.
And that one looks like you're looking out a window.
Are they from So Inspired?
Oh, I'm sure they all hang around down there. That looks like her work on the back wall.
This one is
Yeah. Don't put making a quilt onto your action list. You'll never do anything else.
Huh?
I have offices all over the place.
Okay.
My favorite office is the one in my upstairs bedroom. Jenna lets me use an office here to meet people over in the Farmington Valley. I have an office in Bristol, the Chamber of Commerce there, and also with the Torrington Chamber of Commerce, and also at the branch in Torrington.
So you're
West
western
of the river.
Connecticut.
West of the river, north of the 84.
Is there a co-worker that,
Oh yeah, we're all over the state. Let me go to that page on the PowerPoint.
I think I talked to one of you guys before.
It was me, actually, now that I'm remembering, over in Bloomfield, right?
You have a better memory than I do.
I think, yeah, all of a sudden it flashed me. I think I met you at Bloomfield at a thing at Command. Did you go to a Bloomfield Chamber thing at Command?
Yeah, but I don't think I talked to you then.
It was in the parking lot, it was dark.
I would watch you, I sit there.
It was before I started eating lunch out every day as part of this job, so might have been 15 pounds ago. Yeah, so we've got offices all over the state, and actually, you know what? I remember you now, because you told me something which I have repeated. You said people will either cross the river or cross the mountain, but not both. And that's why Simsbury doesn't have any crime to speak of, because you gotta go over a mountain and over a river to get the bad guys in here.
Well, once they get in here, they can't get out. That's true. They get so confused, I get confused.
That's funny. I knew you were familiar for a reason. I thought you were a Simsbury guy.
No. For me, started from Manchester, that's pretty much.
You crossed both the river and the mountain,
Yes, I did.
just for this.
How you're gonna get
We're
Yes.
gonna take this show on the road, though. This is, I was telling him, did you walk in late? I was telling him, this is my,
I walked
this
in
is my
late.
toast place. This is my, like, testing out the waters for this presentation before I take it on the road. So, or before we take it on the road. I can't believe this is all gonna be on TV. Can we just, like, cut the last 15 minutes?
We're all going
As you can see, I get very nervous in front of a crowd.
I don't think you're nervous.
I'm not nervous. I've been doing this for a living for 15 years, talking in front of people who are bored out of their minds. I teach economics, so I have a very high tolerance for,
I'm looking at something here and I have a complaint.
what's that?
I think there's only one place, maybe, no, not two. One place is East of the River.
Stores. There's no people over there.
Two,
Oh, and there's Waterford.
water system.
Yeah. Well, Middletown. It's on the river.
On the river.
So on this growth wheel, you might go through and pick like one or two things from 5 or 6 different segments
Yeah.
for your next 30, 60 days of what you need to do. It's not like you're just going to concentrate in one segment.
No,
You're gonna
no.
hop
You probably
around
would
and
take,
pick.
you know, you can't take on too much, but ideas are gonna come to you. It is, though, important, sort of psychologically, to hang your ideas into their relevant categories so that you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm not just wasting my time doing this thing that's not this, I'm working on this larger goal. So it seems like playing on Facebook is playing on Facebook, but really, I'm enhancing my visibility on social media, because that's part of marketing. That's how I justify everything. It's hard to justify spider solitaire. If I figure out a way, I will let you know.
It's letting your brain rest. All
Yeah.
kinds of ideas come after your brain's
That's
rested.
true, that's true. Does anybody want to talk about like their business that they're in and we can discuss, or if you're talking about what you're finding? Oh, my
I'd love
God.
to. I'd love to.
Okay.
If you're applying for a grant, or maybe even funding, how long a period of time, if you could generalize, and I know that's a pretty...
Well, actually, I don't have to generalize, because I was just at an event where one of the senior people at DECD said they thought that it was going to be 45 to 60 days, but realistically, it's more like 80 to 90.
Okay, so we're not looking at years, we're looking at months.
No. But the challenge, again, and if you are going to go through that rigmarole, you want to work with someone like me, because it's the hoops that you have to jump through. I have seen one completed DECD application. It was this thick. Right, so they have a one-page application, but that's one page on top of, a million supporting documents, just like when you go to close on a house. You close on a house, you sign 50 different documents, and it's the same thing with any other source of money. So, yeah.
Well, the business that we have, it's interesting. My
Yeah.
daughter just graduated college, and I think the colleges are now teaching kids to give back, to be good citizens.
Yeah.
Which is how she did her internship last summer at Reset. And she determined she wanted her business
That's
to
a
be
good place to do an
a
internship.
social enterprise.
Reset, it's like an incubator downtown. Yeah, so she wanted to do a
The
social
Social
enterprise.
Enterprise Trust. And it was started by Kate Emery of the Walker Group. And they believe in giving back to the employees, to the community, as well as to the business. So the business delivers messages within the blossoms of origami flowers, mainly for cancer patients, transplant, ICU. And it started from a friend of hers who had cancer. So she was asked by the hospital where she delivered them for her friend to, keep it up. They liked it. And so it's grown. She was just accepted into an accelerator in Chapel Hill. But I work with Kuhn Employment out of Meriden, who finds jobs for special needs individuals or developmentally challenged. I don't know what the politically correct term is. And I also work with IRIS, Integrated Refugee Immigration Services, giving jobs to refugees that have been brought in by, the United States federal government. They're funded. So I work basically right now with special needs people in Iraq. And we started
And they have an
out.
outlet through the origami for their handwork as a
Their
as
handwork
the
is
first
fabulous.
step. Yeah.
But, number one, we started working out of the house.
Right.
One Iraqi is in Hartford, one is in New Haven. And if I'm going to get anything done, I'm delivering materials. This is not
Right.
cost effective.
So that's a business process.
That's a business
Yeah.
process. And all the things we need, whether it's the accounting to be done right. I've tried the entrepreneurial center. I've tried the health thing.
You're not an accountant.
Oh, and I said, I'm not going to lie to anyone. And they say, well, what is your business plan? Well, how do I know who's going to buy flowers? I'm so cut and dried. It's terrible. She's got more of the business mind, but again, she just graduated college, and she has found people interested in investing. I don't want any more partners, Mom. I said, well, Mom's savings are just about gone.
Yeah.
And so there's the dilemma. But as you were talking, and the grant thing just popped in my mind as you were talking, she is creating jobs for a number of people.
Right.
Right now, we're only paying piecework because even if you do a time study, it doesn't work. Some are going to be okay, some are not. Kuhn can only do the assembly, so I've got the Iraqis making the flowers, but now how do I get the flowers, or do I import? You had export help, I don't know about import. And she's got this whole branding thing going. She says, well, I want to do this now. I said, whoa, just go easy. But it's very hard to put it all together, and yet it's been well received. But even the advertising, it's money. I went to Comprehensive Business Solutions. It was terrible.
Sometimes having money in your pocket that you can spend is actually the worst thing, because you wind up spending it not knowing whether you've really gotten the best investment, the best bang for your buck. But those problems are not insurmountable. You've got a supply chain problem, and you've got a business process problem.
How would the grant meet the
Money
needs
is
if they want collateral?
Get funding. If you're going to get funding, you have to answer all those questions before you can go for funding. I feel for people who, and I'm not meaning to disrespect you because you obviously do have your head on straight, but like for instance, this young girl who was a personal trainer, and just like the plumbers and just like the electricians, they're like, well, screw these people, they're taking all my profit. I'm going to go and get my own place and get my own lease and be my own boss and keep all the money that I earn. And she did it. She borrowed some money from her family to make it happen. She signed a 3-year lease, and And then she realized she needed more money. But by the time she realized that she needed the money, she was so busy just trying to like pay the rent that she didn't have time to sit back and do the kind of essentially paperwork, except it's not just paperwork. It's the thought, the planning that you need to have in place in order to be able to obtain funding. That's the value of a business plan. No, you don't need to write a book, but you do need to have all those issues thought through. How are you going to, in an ideal world, if you're going to go ask for 50 grand, and part of that 50 grand is to have a centralized location and drivers to take care of doing that and of getting everything where it needs to be. If that is your solution, you need to think through what is that solution, what kind of insurance do you need, what kind of a lease arrangement do you need, all that kind of stuff. Everything that goes into a funding application is a process that needs to have been thought through. That's what a business plan is. It's not a document that you write for a strategy class. It's your plan. It's what you're going to do. And if you're not able to just spend money and make something happen without a plan, it's better, actually, because having a plan means you're going to think through some of those things and avoid costly mistakes in the end. My job. I get to do that for a living. That was like what I sit down and do with people. And then if this were a real consulting arrangement, then we would sit and figure out, okay, well, what's the next thing that you do need to do to square away some of these issues. 90% of my time with clients in the first couple of meetings, they've got all these swirling things going on in their head, and my job is to just extract it, and I don't put any ideas in there. I just sort of consolidate what they said into what they really are saying, and then getting it linear creates then the impetus to take the next step. Anybody else want to tell me their hopes, their dreams?
How does the grant work though, or would the grant work for something like she does without having the
I don't know, because she
collateral?
doesn't have the plan in place yet.
Well, even if she had the plan, but she doesn't have collateral, and you said they're looking for collateral, such as the business machines.
I didn't want to crush your dreams out here in front of everybody. That's Score's job. No, I'm just kidding.
But do they have to have that kind of collateral, or can they find?
Well, it depends on what she wants to spend the money on. Let's say you want 50 grand, you want to buy a truck and,
Then that becomes the collateral.
a paper
A mobile
folder machine or something.
I was gonna say a
then
mobile
that-
place where the
and
supplies
you
you
can use
drive
that
away
to
to do
create
there.
5 jobs. Yeah, they'd love something like that. Okay, but if the grant is just to pay people's salary, it's more difficult.
Right.
Okay.
I have a couple of not unrelated questions, but maybe some productive questions. Could you meet someplace else like Access 901?
Could I meet someplace else like Access?
Instead of stores or here?
Well, I have offices all over the place, and I meet at clients' facilities, and then sometimes I'll meet them, like if they're wanting to foot the bill, I have a client that I meet down in Berlin at some sort of shared office space. So, but,
Access 901 is a co-working space.
yeah, if there's costs associated with it, I already have 3 offices. I can't be paying any more rent, unless the client wants to cough it up, which they do sometimes.
As far as I'm concerned, that would be on the other side of the river, but not all the way in stores.
Well, but we've got someone who is based in Hartford, who, if you're talking about East Hartford, she'd be the one that you work with, Denise. East Hartford. And then you can go down to Hartford and see her.
And you worked with CBS?
With Reset.
She worked with Reset and CBS.
I don't
No,
work with
it was
CBS
an
anymore.
acronym that involved an I.
You did?
Comprehensive Business
Yeah,
Solutions.
you got somebody new?
Me.
Okay.
They just charged too much and it was.
I might be able to help you.
Oh. Whoa.
Okay. How about anybody else want to talk about their business? No, I had Facebook people asking, how about if I want to start a business in Simsbury? I think they showed up. They don't want to talk about it. Okay. we already talked, you have business, you're a promotional guy, right?
No.
No?
Basically, I came in late, so I didn't hear any introduction to the
Yeah,
academy.
we didn't have.
But I'm a
Just launched.
QuickBooks Pro advisor, working with the
Ah.
intriguing, the challenging, and the unique, not the accounting, bookkeeping, or tax preparation, but I have a degree in accounting, so I might be able to help you.
Sounds good.
I also deal with sacred skincare. Those are my money-making things.
Yeah.
But I've also been involved with benefit corporations, a web mobile application to enhance the process of networking. And my claim to fame might be I'm working on developing a concept to help enhance the quality of life and stabilize the economy. It deals with nutrition. And because it
Oh,
deals
big
with...
ideas.
It's a
That's
very
awesome.
big
Yeah,
idea.
that's awesome. I'm the luckiest person in the world to get to hear everybody's ideas. And
And
it's
because
everything from saving the world to making springs in Bristol to it's awesome. Does anybody else want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm not-
Okay.
And because it deals with nutrition, I was fortunate enough to create the Connecticut, which is now the Hartford or Western Mass Holistic Chamber of Commerce, which is holistic and eco-friendly practitioners. So if I can help anybody, let me know.
It's awesome. Anybody else? People shy. Rose, you want to give them your story? No? Nobody wants to give their story.
At what point
I'm
do you
just not
hold
prepared
it
to-
back up, like, is this proprietary knowledge, do I not want to share yet because somebody else might take it? Like,
Yeah.
at what point are you at the legal
Well, our
structure, I need
services,
to do
our
trademarking
services are
and
complete zip. You may as well consider us like a lawyer. Matter of fact, I get a lot of my referrals from lawyers. We cannot say anything about any businesses that we work with. Certainly not in an identifiable way. I mean, I'll tell stories about a client in general that you would never be able to identify who that person was. And that is 100%, I would lose my job. Which isn't to say, right, at the beginning I said that one of my roles is to be a networker. So what I do in that case is if you were trying to do something that could potentially be beneficial to another client, I'll ask, is it okay if I put you two in touch? I have a client over here that's trying to do this. Would it be okay if I gave him your name? Would it be okay over here if I gave him your name? And sometimes that can be really cool. Like in our organization, we had two clients that were simultaneously interested in doing something with one of the very high-profile mills up in Western Connecticut. And they didn't know each other. But what they wanted to do, neither one could fully utilize the space. But what they wanted to do was actually quite complementary to each other's interests. And so I haven't actually heard from them in a while. I need to poke at them and see how that went. But we put them together, and hopefully they are going to be able to make something happen and change some lives. So I'm in a pretty depressed area. So it's a really cool thing, our role. But at the same time, I have clients coming to me who have something they're trying to patent, who have an idea that they don't want other people to know about, and totally confidential. So. And people, the patenting process. Anybody want me to talk about that for a minute? Okay. If you go on the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's website, it will tell you that you don't technically need a lawyer to do it, that you can do it yourself. And if you search online,
It's true.
if you search online, you will find lots of stories of people who do have obtained patent for themselves without a lawyer. And so that becomes a little bit of a challenge for us as business advisors, because sometimes people will throw themselves on my lap and say, yeah, let me get a patent. I don't want to have to hire a lawyer. I can't afford to hire a lawyer, but I don't quite know how to work the process.
they go through like legal Zoom then, right?
We've just done this
Yeah.
with something that we've been sort of working on inventing for my husband, and sort of came up with it, and I've been helping him.
Cool.
And we've prototyped it, and we've done a little testing with
Did you
friends.
use the 3D printer?
No, we didn't, because it's not suitable
I want to learn
for
how to use
that.
that so bad. I
That's
can
cool,
talk
but
about
we
it.
didn't use it
Yeah.
for that. And we have a friend who's a patent attorney, so we
Yeah.
talked to her, and then went on the NOLO website, and filed a provisional patent application through NOLO. And then, but once we go to file, if we decide to proceed with a regular patent, we will hire our friend. But that's the route that we went after, going on the patent office.
That could be a
and-
nice cost-saving process for people to go through, because your provisional patent sort of puts a line in the sand and said, I am going to file, and the latest law says the first file has the legal rights. So you want to get a line in the sand.
And it's the difference between like $65 or $140 and thousands of dollars. So it gives you a year to figure out if your product will really be able to generate some revenue.
Right.
But it gives you the protection to the filing date.
Is that the same hold true for a trademark as well? Or is it two separate?
Trademarks are
But-
different.
Right.
Well-
It's sort of following the same line that,
Because you have to show proof of sale within like 6 months.
6 months.
Of filing a trademark.
okay, all
And
right.
you can do extensions up to 6 times.
Okay.
There's also the decision that you need to make about whether you want to patent your product, because when you file a patent, it becomes public knowledge.
Right.
So like Coca-Cola does not have a patent on Coke. They have a trade secret on Coke. And so that's something, to consider as well. And that's the benefit, again, of an attorney. The business advice that we give is business advice. We know what the legal issues are to watch out for, but, I'm not a lawyer, nor am I an accountant. Although I play one on TV today. So yeah, it's a process. It's also a business decision. You just look at the cost benefit. I went to the UConn Law School has an intellectual property practice, and they will take on on the semester's timeline. They will sort of accept a bunch of applications for free, pro bono, legal advice for patenting, and then they will decide sort of in the early part of the semester, and then the students will help you with that. But it's it's an application process. It's time consuming. But that could be a really good cost saving alternative as well.
Any concept of a business being patented, or does it have to be a physical something?
You can patent a process.
What about an idea?
I believe that you have to show a proof of concept at some point. You just can't say, oh, I have the idea. Like, for instance, one of my clients, she had an idea that grocery stores ought to sell packaged meals in the refrigerated case, not just frozen packaged meals. So this idea was in her head. She had this idea. And so she went and talked to Aramark or Cisco, or whichever the one that is here. And the next thing you know, those things showed up on supermarkets.
Yes.
And so who had that idea? In my opinion, of course I'm an economist, so I have this really warped way of looking at the world, right? Typical economist joke. People are walking down the street, somebody says, oh look, a $50 bill on the ground. And the economist says, don't be silly, if that $50 bill were on the ground, somebody else would have picked it up on it. Right? That's how an economist thinks. And so, when this woman is telling me my story, I'm feeling sympathy for her, but I'm also thinking ideas percolate in society, and just because two things happened at once and a marketing company was able to get it out to market doesn't mean that they stole her idea. Probably more likely means that,
Well, they'll tell you-
the ideas haven't.
They'll tell you if you have an idea, that 100 people had that same idea before you.
Yeah.
You're never number one with the ideas.
And that, getting back to the question of patent, becomes one of the real values in an attorney business, because you pay them money and they will do a thorough patent search to determine whether, what's that? And
charge you for it.
Yeah, but if your product is something, so it's a business decision again. If your product is something that you think is going to make you loads of money, then it's worth the money because that's an investment. If it is something that you're like, the moms in town probably like it, maybe the moms in Avon too, maybe the mom's everywhere. Maybe it's not really worth getting a patent, you just get it to market as quick as you can, and you know, make that business decision that that's what you're doing. I went to a seminar at it was terrifying, at the law school. Okay, I was in a room full of lawyers, just terrifying enough. Evidently, there are companies whose business model is to purchase patents that have never been brought to market, and then basically go around threatening to sue people and settling out of court and making money. They're called patent trolls.
Right.
Or non-practicing entities, but they call them trolls. So, you know, intellectual property doesn't necessarily buy you the protection that you think it will. I don't know, it's a business decision, it's something not to be taken lightly, it's something to be at least like, what's your name?
Lynn.
So just like Lynn, you know, she discussed it with her friend who's an attorney. It's a serious decision. Others? Questions? Comments?
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.